What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Soulfire Podcast. My name is Cypress Soulfire, also known as Thomas, formerly known as TJ King. And with me today, I have my first ever guest here on episode 1 of this podcast, might I add. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
Hello, my name is Justin. I've also been on this channel. For those of you that remember Road to No Man's Land.
And many other series.
Many other series that we just completely talked to ourselves the entire time.
Correct. And today, I've got a bit of a topic to talk about, and this is the first of many instances that I'm going to use this exact same thing on people that I bring onto this podcast. But first, because this is a podcast and it's a little bit more informal and not like, super direct to things, I feel like we should kind of give a bit of a backstory about how we became friends with one another.
Yeah.
So two of the people that we were dating at the time were friends with one another.
Best friends, apparently.
Best friends, yep. And I ended up being told about this kid who I was going to be meeting. And I distinctly remember saying, do I have to pretend that I like this kid? And my significant other at the time was like, yes, you have to like him, blah, blah, blah. So then I meet him, and he knew way more about me than I knew about him, which meant that obviously he had heard enough about me to carry a conversation, which for me was weird. But eventually he grew on me, and we ended up becoming friends, and we've been friends for 5 years now?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah.
That's wild.
That's insane.
And yeah, so let's hop right into our topic today. So
Hell yeah.
I found a screenshot of a text conversation, and the text conversation goes as follows. I can't sleep. What's up? There's just so many important questions going on in my head. Like, and this is where the conversations will begin. So the first question that I have for you to get your opinion.
Sure.
Is the S or C silent in the word scent?
Oh,
as in S-C-E-N-T.
S-C-E-N-T. Okay.
Yes, as in like a scent that you would smell. Is it the S or the C?
Oh, Jesus.
It's silent.
I'm going to say the C.
Why would you say that?
Because if S is like the letter S,
right?
It's mainly known for the sound,
right?
Right. C can be or K depending on the context. I think that like it being S, it would make more sense.
It does make sense, and this is also another reason that I wanted to do that one in particular with you, is because we're both English majors currently.
Yeah, we are,
and I'm gonna actually dispute that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that the S is silent because C-E-N-T is scent.
Right.
S-C-E-N-T is scent.
Of course. I see, yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's an extra letter. Nobody gives a fuck.
Nobody gives a shit, no.
So that's kind of where this sort of question line is going to go. This next one, very, very, I'd call it almost metaphysical.
Okay.
Almost.
Sure.
If you drop soap on the floor, is it dirty or is the floor clean?
Fucking hell.
It's very philosophical questions here.
Before I answer, let's hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, so I would have to say that it would be dirty.
Okay.
Because it would pick up grime and stuff from the floor.
Of course.
However, that poses a bit of a paradox, because if it picks up the grime, that means it's cleaning the floor.
Yeah. Maybe it's both. like simultaneously at the exact same
Both
time.
in its same ways,
Floor's
I
getting
guess.
clean, the soap is getting dirty, because a soap's purpose is to clean,
Right.
right? Obviously, you have to scrub and shit like that.
So that's the thing. If you just drop
If you just okay, if you
Is
just
it-
drop it,
is it enough to clean the floor,
I
or
think-
does it just get the soap
I
dirty?
think if you drop it, it's just unnecessary filth just going on the soap.
But here's the other thing: can soap even get dirty?
When it's not like, oh shit,
Because you use soap on
Yeah.
like your hands
Oh, what
or your
the fuck?
body and stuff like that. So technically, soap would always be dirty, wouldn't it? Or would it always be clean because it's a cleaning product? This question has so many layers and no answers.
no, there's like it's just the one, like you said, one giant paradox.
As soon as I found these, like, they started haunting my dreams. I started thinking about these things when
It's
I was going to bed. I'd wake up
literally-
in the middle of the night in like a sweat.
Literally, the text chain that you are reading.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Oh, absolutely. The next one. This one is a bit more straightforward, but at the same time there's some layers.
Okay.
How come our noses run, but our feet smell?
Fuck.
Now, it's a little more straightforward because obviously noses smell, except in my case,
Yeah, you can't smell shit.
and feet run also, except in my case, because fuck cardio.
Yeah.
But in a very simple view,
Yeah.
if you just take it at face value, noses running and feet smelling, those are antitheses to one another.
Of course.
So
What the fuck?
what's the answer?
Was it even put in a form of a question? Like, it was more of just like a statement, like your nose runs and then your feet smell.
There's a question mark here, though, which means that it's somehow a question, or is it one of those questions where it's more of a rhetorical
Yeah,
statement question?
It might be something like that.
I would think so.
Bloody hell.
Why is it called chili if it's hot?
Fuck.
As in the food.
Yeah, of course.
Just making sure that was out there.
No.
I didn't want to put that out there and have someone go, what?
If it's chilly, if it's hot. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Or when you say it's chilly outside and you mean it's cold.
Yeah.
Holy
So why wouldn't it be hilly?
hell.
Yeah, for it to be hot,
Okay,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
chilly, right?
I see,
It's
I
a
see.
dumb pun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense, right?
So should it be choled then, in some cases, instead of cold? So say it's hot? Choled.
What? You've added a whole new layer I didn't even think of. We're talking about the food, chili.
Right.
Right.
And I'm talking about if it's hot, you fucking call it choled.
But that would be what?
Because it'd be like saying the word chili, right? CH.
Right, okay.
CH, it's saying that it's warm,
Yes.
and it can also be used to saying that it's cold.
Okay.
So the word choled. I'm not making sense, am I?
No, I'm completely lost. I'm going to be
Shit.
completely honest with you. I'm just going to move on to the next one. I don't think there is an answer to that. If two mind readers
Yes.
read each other's minds, whose mind are they reading?
Is there like a thought happening in somebody's mind?
Well, that's the thing. Because is the thought the mind reader reading the other person's
Yeah.
mind? And would that just create...
go back and forth.
Yeah, would it
You
just...
cause like a black hole.
Yeah, you basically tear a hole in the space-time continuum.
Jesus.
Like...
Well, okay. I think in a circumstance where they're not thinking of anything because they're just thinking about reading other person's mind,
Right.
I think it would definitely cause some shit, and Doctor Who would appear and
Right.
smack the shit out of them. But I think
Backhands for everyone.
Exactly. But I think in like a sense where somebody's thinking something, and then somebody picks it up, that's in like their head, and then the other person goes, and then that exact same thing's back in their head, and it just goes back. It's like a game of tennis,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
And it's going back and forth.
This last one is a little bit interesting. And every time that I read it, it confuses me more, but I also understand it more.
Okay.
If I told you I'm lying in bed right now, aren't I actually telling you the truth?
That what? It's not the same lying though.
But contextually, it is. Because when you say it, there's not enough context to it.
Right.
And when you're typing it, it could be like it could come
Lying.
across as
I'm
being
lying
in
but
bed.
I'm in my bed.
Right?
Right. Okay.
So it's a little bit of one of those things where I'm pretty sure that the person who came up with this was high out of their mind.
As a kite, absolutely.
And I honestly think that these questions would have many more answers if you were high when you
100%.
read them or listened to them.
You had to been on some like hard shit maybe even.
Oh, absolutely.
At that point in time to figure that one out.
Absolutely. There's no way that you can get through something like that and have it be just a legitimate thought in your head. That's it for the questions that I had.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring those up to everybody that I bring on the podcast.
Amazing.
Because it's just such a good time.
I'm excited to hear other people's answers.
I'm hoping to actually acquire some more questions that are very like...
of course.
Almost like shower thought-esque.
Shit, yeah.
You know? And just kind of see how people react to those questions.
Yeah.
Because I can definitely tell that there are some people out there that I'm hoping to bring onto the podcast that would
lose their shit.
They would just look at me and be like, what is going on?
I could think of a few people that would just explode into a ball of flame.
Oh, yeah.
When you
just completely shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically. You know, I mentioned this in episode 0 that I tested. That I don't actually know if I've released it at this point or not by the time I release this.
Right.
Normally I should, because 0 comes before 1.
Usually.
But I also just don't know if I'm going to post that one or if I'm going to do a different 0. And even then, I might still say this. But this podcast is meant to be like professionally unprofessional. Which is basically, I think that's something I still have in my about section on YouTube.
Professionally unprofessional?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm pretty sure I have that listed somewhere. And basically what that means is I only had that topic.
Yeah. We can
didn't think about anything else.
Well, we can talk about being in the city.
That is true.
Together, because that is
very true.
That is happening.
We have gone from basically never seeing one another.
Because of schooling.
Because of school, and also just because of me being busy, me being away, because I went off to school before you did, and also when our friend groups kind of started to split apart due to situations, we kind of just drifted away.
Oopsies.
And now we're both living in the same city, approximately 15 minutes away from one another.
Yeah.
And it seems like we see one another like every second day at this rate.
It's weird when I wake up and I'm not laying on your couch.
Yeah. Honestly. It's, and like even my roommates are like, oh, is Justin going to be here? And I'm like, I mean, maybe.
He just shows up, right?
Yeah, like it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, want to hang out? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
And that's the glorious thing about our friendship. We can just hang out and do shit all.
Exactly. That's kind of how it's always been.
Yeah.
Like, even when we would record and stuff, like here's an interesting topic of conversation. Road to No Man's Land.
What a meme.
People who have been subscribed to my channel and watching my videos for a long time will know that we had a Minecraft series called Road to No Man's Land, which then devolved into
Havoc.
my server literally committing suicide
Do we still
in a video. And then we moved to Terraria for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then just never continued.
No.
Because Terraria was weird.
Terraria is a weird game.
Yeah.
It's like, I can understand why it has a fan base and why people love it. Just, I can't get behind it.
My computer also couldn't handle it at the time.
That's a good point.
'Cause
that's a very good point.
That was not far off from when my computer started to slowly degenerate itself. Because some who have seen my vlogs from first year university would know that my desktop computer decided to, like I said about my server, commit suicide.
Yeah, full on seppuku or seppuku or seppuku, whatever the Japanese thing. You're killing yourself with a samurai sword. That's all I know.
Exactly. But we had originally planned for Road to No Man's Land to be a long-term series
before everything happened.
Yeah. And we were working off of a server that I had been running. And I was running this server because I had also been running servers for PBGRC at the time. Because I was working on trying to build more of a community base with some of those guys. And I also wanted to create a place where I could get, basically I could mooch some content off of people. I could be like, hey, let's all play Minecraft. And then we'd all get in and I'd be like, I'm going to record.
Jesus.
Which I did a lot of. Or I did like secret recordings where I'd mute myself, start a recording, do my intro, and then keep playing and nobody would know. And then halfway through, I'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is happening.
Yeah.
But for Road to No Man's Land, we both didn't know what we were doing.
No.
To be fair, we had no goal in mind. We both were not actually as close to one another
at that point in time.
At that point in time,
that would have only been like several months, maybe,
yeah, that we,
because it would have been like
hanging out. Yeah. And that also kind of caused a bit of, I don't want to say a rift, I'd say like difficulty in making the series feel natural and not feel forced.
I can agree with that. Like, looking back at it, I can definitely get behind that thought process.
Whereas, eventually later on in the channel and later on in the videos that we did before I stepped away from YouTube and, had a bunch of content come out that I just kind of pushed and left.
Yeah.
Was the Brawlhalla series. Because you appeared on the Brawlhalla series a lot.
I did.
More than anybody else on my channel.
Yeah.
And I played Brawlhalla with quite a few people. Like, I had Geek from Two Doors Over, also known as Webhead Ababwa. You can check him out. I have links on my channel to his stuff. He's great. I don't think I played with Blue Wings for Brawlhalla, but I played with you. I played with some of the guys from PBGRC. I played in the tournament that you set up, the BNL.
That lasted 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 3 weeks, because I got 3 fights in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
And I crushed them all.
I think I was 2-1 at that point in time.
I was 3-0.
Yeah, because I fought, what's his name? One of my really good friends from high school. Beat him, and then there was one, I can't remember the person that I lost against, but I was like, well... Thomas just won this.
Well, yeah, it was interesting because my first 2 matches were against PBGRC guys that I had given the codes to for Brawl at the time.
Yeah.
Because I had been talking with Matt Woomer, one of the developers from Mammoth.
Yes.
At the time.
Correct.
And he gave me 21 keys for the game.
Insane.
Yeah, because I mentioned I was part of this club, and he was like, here, have some keys. And I was thinking, like, he's going to give me like 5 or something. Then he dumps 21 on me. And I was like, good
That's
Lord.
how you get your game out of there.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you get it. How you get it going.
So I started just kind of throwing them to PBGRC people. And my first 2 matches were against PBGRC guys. And then my third match was against the guy that was going to be a problem in that tournament for me. Because he was along the same level that I was at the time. I think we were both gold in solo ranked at the time.
I think you might have been like maybe 1 or 2 tiers above him.
No, I wouldn't be 1 or 2 tiers above him, because if I was 1 or 2 tiers above him, he'd be bronze.
No, I meant like gold or whatever, like the bars you get from your elo.
Oh yeah. Okay, so sections in gold. Yeah,
something like that.
Probably along that line makes more sense. Yeah. And I remember, because I was, I was gold ranked for a long time, and also ended up during the beta, I was within top 50 at one point.
Really?
When I first started playing.
I never knew that.
Yeah, when I first started like running ranked stuff, I ended up in top 50. I like got into top 50, and then it immediately got back out of it, because it was like one of those things where the leaderboard is always changing and everything.
Yeah.
I started dropping down, and then we also started playing duos. I just dropped ranked entirely for solo, unless I was playing by myself, in which case I'd throw a couple matches in here and there. And we got to gold.
We did. It was
teams.
Yeah, it was scary being in there.
We ended up in top 100.
Did we really?
Like, top 200, because we were within the 200 to 100 range for teams.
I guess we were, because we had like multiple points in time where we just went on like a shit ton of winning streaks. Mm-hmm. And we would be like, this isn't going to last. And then we'd play another game. We'd kick ass and we'd keep going.
I think the highest we ended up going was 254 overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's about right.
Because we talked about trying to get up like higher and like really drive into the game. But every time I checked the leaderboards, I'd see like people had like 400 team wins. And we were at like 70.
Yeah, we weren't even close. Like, because people grind that game like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah, and they pay for it too.
That is true.
Like they buy skins and they buy mammoth coins and stuff like that. Whereas we both bought the legend packs for Oh no, you didn't.
Bought it.
You didn't buy it. I bought it.
You told you recommended it to me.
I recommended it. Yeah, for PC, I bought the legends pack. So if I went back on it now, I'd have every legend that's available.
Which is insane to think about.
Yeah, whereas, now there's the PlayStation version, there's the Switch version. I don't remember the last time I booted up Brawlhalla on a PC.
Same.
And even if I did, I'd be trash, and also I don't have my controller.
Did they not make it with PlayStation 4 controllers or DualShock 4 controllers?
The DualShock 4 were always weird when I tried to make it work with my computer, but DualShock 3 worked like a charm.
Yeah.
So I used those. But there's also a difference between the 4 and the 3 in terms of like the weight of the controllers, the design of the controllers, and everything. So switching back and forth was always a totally weird experience, because you'd have to like re-grip your hands, basically. Like you'd have to totally remap how you hold a controller, how you like trigger the buttons and everything.
Yeah.
And, like it's the same as picking up a new system that has a different control style, right? Like if I picked up an Xbox controller, it'd take me hours to figure it out.
Absolutely.
To be fair, I will just jump this back a little bit for anybody that watched PBGRC stuff and remembers this, but when I did pick up an Xbox controller, hey, Rescue Soap, if you ever hear this, I'm still a better video game player than you are, bitch. Sorry, you know that story, right? The Rescue Soap story?
Maybe?
So it was PBGRC, me, and this guy, Rescue Soap, also known as Gavin. We had this joking rivalry with one another.
Okay.
Where he didn't like my persona. He didn't like the TJ King persona, because in videos for PBGRC, I was very much in character for
Of
them.
course.
And I was always like, I'm the best. I'm TJ King, the King of Kings, Prince Pretty. Nobody can do anything better than I can. And like, playing up the whole thing. I was basically like an old school Yu-Gi-Oh villain, for God's sake. Like, take this, ha!
Oh my god!
Or like an old school like Street Fighter, like Vega.
Yeah.
From Street Fighter, like, let my beauty intoxicate you, like that sort of thing. But he didn't like my persona, and subsequently, because he didn't like my persona, I took offense to that, and I started calling him a troll. Not because he was an internet troll, but because he was short.
Oh my god!
So I started calling him a troll, and we started to get into this rivalry where we would be in like videos that didn't have anything to do with one another, and we would somehow find ways to take shots at each other.
Amazing.
So it'd be in PokeMMO, and I'd be like, oh hey look, a Rattata, the most annoying Pokemon in existence, just like Rescue Sub. And Bryce would always be like, fuck, I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
And eventually it came down to Gavin and I had been going back and forth for so long. We had been arguing and, playing it up in front of the camera and stuff like that. And I love Gavin.
Of
like
course.
he's incredible. Off camera, him and I are super chill with one another.
Right, of course.
On camera, we had to hate one another because we had built this sort of storyline.
Yeah.
And I came to him one day with a contract. And the contract was for a challenge. And the challenge was a 1v1 Modern Warfare on Rust, any weaponry, and whoever won, the loser had to tell them on camera that they were a better video game player.
No way.
The better man.
Oof.
And the loser also had to wear a tutu in a video, with the winner getting to mercilessly insult them.
Jesus. You just went all out with that.
I went all out with it. I wanted that punishment to take place so badly. I was ready for it. So I approached him with this contract, and I slammed it down in front of him, and we had a video about it too. I slam it down in front of him, and I challenge him to it. It's in front of the entire club, so he can't say no, because if he says no, then obviously, he's scared, right? Which he was. And Rescue Soap, you were scared. And I know you'll never admit it, but you knew you were scared.
I know you'll never admit it. Beautiful.
And basically, it came down to, we did this game. We had it as like an event where we did we played it at the school, and it was Gavin and I, just the two of us in the video, playing the game. But he had one condition. He said, it's not fair that you're coming to me with this challenge, because you could rig it if you do this. So we have to play Xbox.
Ooh.
Which was immediately a problem for me, because I have never played Xbox before, let alone playing a Call of Duty for Xbox. I'd only played COD for PlayStation. So I started getting worried, because I was thinking, I can practice all I want on PlayStation. As soon as I get to Xbox, I have to get used to the controller. And it's a best 2 out of 3. I gotta win. And I don't have a lot of time to get used to the controller. And we both agreed for no warm-ups. We had to go straight into it.
Jeez.
So I was terrified, right? So we get to the event. We do this whole like before the match sort of like promo thing where, he talked about how he is not scared. He's going to beat me. It's going to be easy. GG easy,
GG's.
like all sorts of stuff like that. I come back with, the whole like, this is my game. I came in with this challenge. I wouldn't have challenged him if I wasn't confident enough to know that I'm going to beat him. And even though it's Xbox, I'm still going to show that I am the better player.
I love that so much.
So we did the challenge. It ended up coming down to, we were tied going into the final match. So it was 1-1. And we decided that we had a stipulation to it. I can't remember what the stipulation was. I think it might have been pistols, knives only. I think. But I don't remember for sure. And it came down to literally the wire. Like, I think it was like a 2-point deficit at the end.
Oh my God.
And I ended up winning.
Amazing.
So, of course, I just berated him. Like, my celebration was over the top. And he goes, well, if this was a real man's game like CSGO, this wouldn't even be a competition.
Real man's game.
And I was like, you got a problem? Like, you think that just because the game and you failed, that it's the game's fault? Like, really?
That's fantastic.
And he was like, yeah, because if you want to do this again in CSGO, we'll do it. And here's the thing. I would never back down from a challenge,
Of
right?
course.
Gavin at the time had been basically doing tryouts for a ESL team
Amazing.
for CSGO.
All right.
I knew that. I knew that Gavin would go home every day and immediately get on Steam and start playing CSGO. That's all he did with his life. I knew there's no fucking way I'm jumping on PC and facing this little shit in CSGO because he would murder me. It wouldn't be a fight. So I said to him, no, I don't have anything to prove to you. I don't have to show you anything. I beat you. You have to admit that I'm the better gamer. You have to do it. It was in the contract. You signed the contract. I wrote the contract. Like, you have to do this. So eventually he agreed, and we go onward. And little ways down the road, him and I are still kind of like, I hate Rescue Soap. I hate TJ King. And we get wind of a 2v2 Smash Bros tournament in Project M. And everybody is like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, it's the whole club teaming up, facing one another. It's whole, like, big brackets and everything like that. And somebody came to me one day and said, Thomas, do you have a partner? I was like, no, I don't. I'm still trying to figure out who I want to bring on as my partner. And they were like, oh, okay, well, good luck with that. I was like, yeah, cheers. So I scouted a couple of people here and there, and I was thinking, okay, I mained Jigglypuff and secondary Link. I needed somebody that was going to be able to have a little bit of power as well and, knew what they were doing. So I was watching at some of the, practice days that we had. And I didn't really see anybody that caught my eye. And then I got into an argument with Gavin at one point. Just over something stupid. Like, we were just kind of going at one another just for the sake of it. And afterwards, the two of us are standing there, and everybody else had kind of dispersed. Like, the argument had kind of ended. And I looked at him, and he goes, so I have an idea.
Oh, no.
I was like, lay it on me. What's the idea? And he goes, you and me. We team for the tournament. And I was like, you really think that would be a good idea? You and me teaming? Like, really? Come on. Like, we're the two people in this group that hate one another. No. I'm not going to team with you. You're going to team with me. And he was like,
oh my God.
He was like, okay, I see how this is going to go. Fine, whatever. Eventually, we end up getting to the tournament. And when we got there, nobody knew who we were going to team up with at the time. Still, there were still some people that were like hadn't really decided yet. So one person's name would be put in a bracket, and then whoever their teammate was just going to be put in beside them, right?
Right.
And then that was going to fill out the matches. So we get in there, and I was on commentary to start the night. So we start the stream up because it was a Twitch stream. We were doing it for, I think this was a Habitat for Humanity stream. I might be wrong with that because it might have been one of the other charity streams that we ended up doing. I think it was our second one, so I don't think it was the Habitat one because Habitat was our first one. Anyways, we get in and start the commentary, and I said, so I have an announcement to make. My partner for this tournament is not only my partner, because what this team is going to be and what we're going to be known as when we win this tournament is the Unholy Alliance.
Oh my god.
Because it's going to be myself, TJ King, and Rescue Soap. And all the people in the club were actually shocked by that.
Yeah,
they were like, holy shit, like this is actually going to happen. So we play, won a few matches in our practice stuff, like off to the side. We were doing really well. We get up to main stage, and we ended up losing our match, which put us down to losers bracket.
Okay.
To be fair, we were playing against two guys that are actually in Pro League for Smash Bros.
Wow.
So we were kind of like, okay, that's fine. We get into losers bracket, and we work our way up the losers bracket to the point where we were in the semifinals of the tournament because we worked our way from losers bracket into semis.
That's insane.
And him and I were totally in character the entire time. Like this Unholy Alliance bit, we were running this thing
going
like crazy. And we get to the semis, played a hard match, and we ended up losing again. And when we lost, we were both kind of sitting there, and one of the guys comes over with the mic and is like, TJ King, Rescue Soap, you guys lost in your first match, worked your way through the losers bracket, you came back into the semis, and you've lost and are out of the tournament now. How do you feel about this? And I said, you know what, we fought hard, we did our best, we couldn't have asked for really much of a better outcome. Except for, of course, winning the tournament, and I'm just kind of happy that we got to compete. And he was like, "And Rescue Soap, how do you feel?" And turned the mic to Rescue Soap, and Rescue Soap goes, "Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to say that TJ King screwed that up for us." And I said, "Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh!
I'm not the one who SD'd a bunch of times." And we started just going back and forth with one another again.
Beautiful.
Totally just right back into it, right? And we ended up getting into a big argument on the stream and totally playing up the character and everything. And that was the last time I worked with him.
Wow.
Directly. Because after that, things started to kind of devolve. I won't get into that because that's a topic that should not be public.
That's something.
But yeah, him and I just didn't work together after that, which sucked because I loved working with Rescue Soap. And Soap, if you're out there and you happen to be listening, and I doubt you will because your attention span is that of a pea.
Fuck.
If you are hearing this for any reason, I'd love to work with you again. And by work with you again, I mean absolutely and utterly crush you in any video game that exists, because just like you said, I'm the better gamer after all.
Except for CSGO, apparently.
That's a different story. Except for CSGO, but that's different. But yeah, that was the Rescue Soap and TJ King
That's
story.
amazing.
So, working with a bunch of these people on my channel beforehand. Now I still keep in touch with some of them, but mainly it's you, Bryce, Webhead, Blue, Wings 4,
Blue.
Blue. Um,
Still gotta meet that man.
every so often I talk to Dubby Didwagon.
W Didwagon.
Not as often, especially because he dropped off YouTube, and then for a while Blue dropped off, and now Blue's a streamer and a hilarious streamer. That Blue, I love you if you are hearing this. And yeah, there's also another topic that I've been thinking about while
Okay.
I've been going off about this. You've recently gotten into D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and we started a campaign with one another.
Yeah, that lasted like what, 2 hours?
Lasted about 2 hours.
Yeah.
We ran a session for 2 hours, and it was myself and Justin and our friend Con Lucky, also known as Lexi,
Yes.
and she was our DM. And it was a lot of fun.
It was. I was very, very happy with it.
Because it was one of your first interactions with it. You had played beforehand, you said, but you still weren't 100% on everything.
Yeah, I played beforehand. Like I had a session for like 3 or 4 hours back at my old university with some people who I don't talk to anymore.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Like it was a bunch of fun. I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
And as much as they tried to help me, I couldn't get a hold of it. Whereas when you and I played, it was a lot more clear how to do things, right? I actually had a rundown of what to do. I used your dice.
Yep.
I still gotta get my own for whenever, if we end up getting to do a campaign.
Yeah, we'll end up setting something up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it's interesting that we are both connected in D&D now as well, because Blue and I connected on D&D as well.
Yeah.
And him and I are now super close with one another. Not that we weren't when we worked together,
of course,
on YouTube, but to be honest, the first couple of videos that I have of him on my channel, those were like the first couple of videos, period. Like, I hadn't worked with Blue very much when I recorded with him for the channel.
Yeah.
We literally, like, Bryce was like, hey, I've been working with this guy, Blue. He's super cool. You should work with him. And then he was also like, oh, and by the way, W works with him. Like, it's kind of we're building a little community here. So we did, and, started to grow a little bit. We had, we had Sky, we had Fide, we had Tom, we had a bunch of other people that we worked with for a little while in this thing that we called the Recorder's Corner. And there was 13 of us in total.
Jesus.
And we worked with one another every so often. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, is anybody around and wants to play like this game, this game, this game, or this game? And if so, who's available to do it? And everybody would respond with like, yeah, I could do this one. Yeah, I could do this one. And then you'd get mutual content from it. So everybody would record and you'd get different perspective and stuff like that. I never really took advantage of that too much because I was kind of like starting to drop off at that point. That was kind of the start of my decline. And then eventually, obviously, I had videos where I dropped away completely, changed kind of revamped the channel a little bit, dropped off again, came back when I went to university, dropped off again, came back, dropped off again, and then I came back with the Motivation Monday and Let's Talk About and kind of the more vlog content. And then recently, I posted a video, just a little short one, where I was just sitting in my car and I just felt like talking to the camera, so I talked for a little bit. And I'm working on another day-to-day life sort of thing, of different adventures that I've had in this first month being back up in the city and seeing people and going on adventures and stuff like that, and kind of what I've been up to. This podcast, I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't know how often the podcast is going to be. I don't know how long the podcast is going to be. I don't know who's going to be on the podcast. Sometimes it might just be myself if I can't get a guest. But I have a couple people in mind that I want to work with.
We're sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I think we'll probably call it soon, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a couple of people that I want to get on the podcast.
Absolutely.
For sure. Because I think there are some really interesting conversations that can come out of it. And another thing, and I think I talked about this in the original episode 0. I don't know if I used that one or I used a different one for it, but basically what I mentioned, or what I think I mentioned, was that for these podcasts and when I have guests on and stuff like that, I want to talk about stuff that we normally wouldn't talk about, right? Like I want to have conversations that are, deeper and about different perspectives on the world around us and kind of what's going on in the world and everything like that. Because the purpose of Soulfire, and originally the Soulfire Collective thing, was going to be a collection of people that were all making content together.
Yeah.
I was going to have a website actually for Soulfire Collective. I was going to have a bunch of people that I knew who do different writing things and different video categories and stuff like that. And it was going to be kind of a joint effort sort of thing. And then that eventually devolved into doing Soulfire Studio, which is basically just the production of this channel. And I have a couple of ideas, obviously, of stuff that I want to do for the channel that I haven't had the time to launch into yet.
Yeah.
But I'd in future episodes, I'm definitely going to look to have more deep life chats.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be really interesting,
fantastic.
Especially when I get some other guests on, and I guarantee that you'll be on more episodes in the future.
Hell yeah.
Probably
do group ones or something like that.
Yeah, do a couple of people on one. I'd love to get you and one of my roommates on with one, because I think there would be some really interesting conversations that would stem out of that.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to get my very, very dear friend and the man that I know as my father, son, brother, so many different connections. Sheldon, I would love to get him on the podcast because I think he would be a riot.
Oh, it'd be fantastic
to
if he was
listen
on it.
to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to talk about different things and get his opinions on, especially those super fucked up questions. But yeah, I think like you said, we're sitting pretty right now. Yeah. So I think this is a pretty solid time to close off the podcast. I want to thank you for joining me.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Inaugural episode.
It's been fantastic
of the podcast. I'm sure it'll get a little bit more structured or not structured as time goes on.
It'll either be order or chaos, or it'll be both.
And there's always got to be a balance.
There's always got to be a balance.
Just like Assassin's Creed says, there's always got to be balance.
Always got to be a balance.
There'll always be the reds and the blues. Not talking about politics.
Political parties.
We're not touching that in this episode because
in this one,
that's a whole internet explosion waiting to happen. So the fact that you just did a Nazi salute.
Why would you tell them that?
Because you knew that there's no camera on you. It was in satire. Chill out.
Chill
For the
fuck out.
keyboard warrior that immediately started just cracking his knuckles and
Shut the
just
fuck up.
slapping
No one
the
cares.
keyboard, shut up. Because it's all satire. When you deal with us, you have to understand our humor has gotten super dark over the past couple of years. So when we're together, our humor goes super dark. And yeah, so basically, yeah, thank you for joining me.
Of course.
It's been a very good time chatting with you. And I look
Love it.
forward to having you on more episodes.
Me as well.
And for all of you out there watching and listening to the Soulfire Studio podcast, or the Soulfire podcast, I don't remember what it's called. To all of you listening to the podcast, thank you all for joining us on this episode, this very first episode. Make sure that if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when the next episode of the podcast comes out and when any other parts of my content come out. And it also gives you a window to go and check out some of my previous videos, all the way back to some of my early gaming videos.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, don't forget to hit the like button. Comment down below if you want to see more. And yeah, thank you all for joining us, and I will see you soon.